One of Jesus' most familiar quotations goes like this: "It's more blessed to give than to receive." Wow, that's a mouthful, isn't it? I'd like to retell the story from Sunday morning. You know, the one about the young man who received a remarkable gift from his brother. It was a brand new car. Who wouldn't want a gift like that? Well, after work one night, Paul came out onto the street and he found this little boy walking around the car, kind of giving it the once over. He was admiring the car. But when the boy saw Paul coming, he looked up and he was startled, of course, and he said, "Hey, mister, is this your car?" And he said, "Yes, my brother gave it to me." And the little boy's jaw dropped. He said, "You mean it didn't cost you anything? Wow, I wish." And Paul, he knew exactly what the boy was thinking. He wished he had a brother like that. He wished he had a brother who would give him a new car. And uh, then the boy went on, I wish, I wish I could be a brother like that." And Paul was astonished. And then he added, he said, "Wait, would you like to take a ride?" And the little boy's eyes just lit up. And so they took a ride. And after a short bit, the little boy said, "Hey, mister, would you be willing to drive over there by my house?" And Paul knew in his heart what the little boy wanted. He wanted his family to see him in this nice new car. He wanted to have maybe his friends even to see him riding in this beautiful vehicle. And so they pulled up in front of the house, and the boy jumped out of the car and ran inside. He did it so abruptly that he just sat there. And before long, the little boy came out the front door, and he was carrying a little boy in his arms. And it was obvious there was something wrong. They sat down on the bottom step, and the little brother, he propped him up against his shoulder, and he said, "Buddy, looky there. His brother gave him that new car for Christmas. Buddy, one day I'm going to give you a car like that." Well, I think that's exactly what Jesus meant, what he must have meant when he said it's more blessed to give than to receive. Some of you probably already know that kind of feeling. You may understand the counterintuitive truth that generosity is, you see, a pathway to joy and fulfillment. I think the Christians in the Macedonian churches that Paul is complimenting, speaks to in his letter to the church in Corinth, I think they understood that. Can you imagine being part of a church where when stewardship time came around that attendance didn't go down, that it went up? Can you imagine being part of a church family where people were just, well, it was kind of the rule of thumb. They'd rush forward and say, "Pastor, when can we get involved? How can we share more in the ministry? Where can I send my offering? What's the mission for this month that we want to focus on?" Sometimes that sort of generosity is a fruit that the pastor is expected to coax out of us before we give it willingly. It's a lot to ask, I think, of a pastor to have to convince us to be generous. One of the best gifts that you could offer to the incoming pastor is this kind of generosity of heart and spirit and substance. The kingdom of God is built of such. That's why the Apostle Paul says to the church in Corinth, "Just as you excel in everything, in faith and speech and knowledge and complete earnestness and in your love, see that you also excel in this grace of giving." May it be so. Blessings.